So while most of the stuff I ask you to do in class and on the assignments and stuff will be using regression based, since we spent units 3 and most of 4 on it, there is some new functionality in Excel version 2016 that is worth looking at, I believe. There's a forecast sheet, and they call it exponential triple smoothing and abbreviate it as ETS. So they're trying to implement some of the Holt-Winters methods into Excel, but the issue is that some of the how is hidden. So, for example, how is it actually choosing the smoothing constants of alpha, beta, and gamma? Things like that. The nice thing is it does give us confidence intervals for forecast, which we'll have to come back and talk about another time, I think. But it's nice because it kind of does a lot of the heavy lifting for us. But again, what's going to happen is when we do it, we're going to get some output, and we'd like to compare it to our regression model, but we can't directly compare it to it. So there's also error, trend, and seasonal components in ETS, which is implemented in the statistical software R, and in particular the package called Forecast. It's relatively new, and it does some really good stuff, but R is a little bit beyond what we're doing. We're going to stick with Excel. But it can automatically select some of the best, and those methods are a little more transparent than the stuff that's in Excel. So let's look at Excel 2016's forecast sheet. So we had the data given this way. We rearranged it. We included a time period index. So now what we need to do is, under the data tab, there's a forecast sheet, right? So that's what we're going to be using on the data. And then to create it, we highlight the output variable as well as the time period index. And then we also want to check off to make sure that we kick out the include forecast statistics, which is down in the bottom part here, right? So we're gonna try that and see what happens. So let me go to Excel. Here's the seasonal naive stuff we had. I think I still have highlighted over on the data worksheet all the data. So I'm gonna hit Control C, create a new worksheet, and paste it. And yes, it looks like that's okay. All right. So under the data tab, off here is the forecast sheet, which is what I want. So the easiest thing to do is to highlight columns C and D, the visitor nights and the time period index, and then click forecast sheet. And now notice here that it shows me what it's trying to do. This is the actuals right here in the blue, and then it forecasts out to period 60, so 3 years out. And the dark solid line there is the point forecast, and then those other ones are the confidence intervals. So let's go ahead and click options. And forecast starts at 48, and for confidence interval 95%, so 95% we're sure between those two little lines. It detected automatically, which it did properly, right? It was in quarters. And I want to include the forecast statistics. Fill in missing points. We don't have anything missing, so it doesn't matter. We don't have duplicates, so we don't need to worry about that. And then if we just click create, it creates a new worksheet with that picture that we just saw. All right. And if we go over to here, we have the statistics. It tells me the resulting alpha, beta, and gamma smoothing parameters that it used. Here is a different metric that we haven't looked at, but is mentioned in the book and is linked in the book to show you where it goes. This is similar to MAPE, but it's a symmetrical one. This is MAE is the same thing as MAD, and the RMSE is the same thing that we're used to seeing. These numbers are different than what we came up with. But again, we can't necessarily compare it directly to what we had done, because we calculated the MAD, the MAPE, and the MSE over the entire 48 time periods that we had data for. Here I'm not sure what they're calculating it over, right? And if you look at the documentation for this, which I have linked in the textbook, there's a lot of links in the textbook, by the way, that you should be clicking on and reading, especially for this chapter, chapter 4. There's quite a few good ones in there that you need to be doing that for. Yeah, so this is a nice new feature for Excel that allows you to do some triple exponential smoothing. That is useful. But again, it's hard to compare to a manual model that we were doing, right? So there it is.